Good evening, everyone. If you don't know, you should know. My name is Rameez Khan, and I am a filmmaker and a film critic. And today's film, although it's still playing in theaters, was recommended to me by a subscriber. I believe his name is Mr. Brett Wilson. And he told me, when reviewing this film, to tell the truth. I am about to tell the truth about Concussion. Let's talk about Concussion.
We must honor our warriors.
Do you understand the impact of what you are doing?
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
Boy, does Will Smith want that golden statuette bad. And I'm not going to say that he doesn't deserve it, because it's a really convincing performance he puts in as Dr.Bennett Omalu. Whereas he's fabulous in this role, I think the problem with this film and the role is the casting. Forrest Whitaker's name screams Dr. Bennett Omalu's type. So does Chiwetel Ejiofor, I hope I pronounced that right, and to a certain extent, Don Cheadle would have been really interesting in this role. It's just really very hard for me to shake off the fact that Will Smith is one of the coolest people alive on this planet, and he's not doing cool-ass stuff, like in Men in Black, or Independence Day where he punches an alien. So it's just kind of cute whenever Will Smith does something really serious, and I'm like, oh, he's trying. The one time out of two times I believed Smith's transformation completely was in Ali. That is such a real, raw, and underlooked performance, man. He's so good in that film. However, as I said, Will Smith is not the problem in this film, it is the casting, as he is fantastic as the Nigerian doctor, Dr. Bennett Omalu. This is a whistleblower story, and that is where the film fails. It fails to be telling. It studies the effects of football-related injuries. Apparently, CAT scans do not pick up that slow deteriorating injury that happens in your head that causes a lot of football players to commit suicide. And Dr. Bennett Omalu was the one who found out about this stuff. But the problem is that we don't see the NFL side in all of this. We don't see them caving. We don't see them putting pressure as much as they should in a whistleblower film on Dr. Bennett Omalu. Instead, we're given a subplot of Dr. Bennett Omalu's girlfriend, who happens to turn into his wife later on, which does nothing to advance the plot or character of Dr. Bennett. Because of how seldom we see the NFL, it kind of softens the impact of the story they're telling, which is a very interesting story. But this is where the film succeeded, however. I think the filmmakers understood that since they can't use the NFL as much, and since they can't slander the NFL as much, they kind of made the film into a character piece surrounding the doctor, which is why we saw that subplot of his wife. So maybe that's the film's problem, that it didn't know what to be focused or centered around, a character or an event. One thing that intrigued me about the film was the cinematography, which is good, but not great. It's littered with far too many close-ups of characters who are saying or doing nothing. But what intrigued me was how many close-ups of hands there are in this film. You will see scenes upon scenes upon scenes of characters, especially Will Smith, just pointing at stuff. Pointing at a whiteboard, pointing at someone else, pointing, and you'll see close-ups of his hands. It's all information that you're supposed to take in, and it's pretty effective because whenever I saw tons of hands moving in the film, I was actively listening to the information. The writing is very good, and it goes hand in hand with the really cool editing. They splice in a ton of NFL footage, old and new, which goes hand in hand with Will Smith cracking the code when he's figuring out what's going on with all these football players. There's a great scene as well with some heavy-handed dialogue which involves Will Smith telling how close America is to heaven, and now the only thing he wants to do is to leave America, the closest thing to heaven. Bundle that up with a couple of other conversations and it starts telling you a story on Americans and the state of America's health system. It raises questions as to why are mental health issues not given as much importance or priority as other problems. If a guy breaks his leg, he will get priority over a guy who has depression. It talks about that type of stuff. It all reminds me of a Simpsons episode, I believe season 3, and it was called Stark Raving Dad, where Homer rents a VHS titled Football's Greatest Injuries. Only in America are you going to see something like that. There's even a scene where a fan calls Dr. Bennett Omalu and tells him on the phone, listen, if football gets canceled, I'm going to be performing your autopsy. That's some heavy, hard-hitting commentary over there, man. It's very anti-NFL, and it's not because the filmmakers hate the sport, who doesn't love football, but it's because they disagree with the policies that the NFL has. Concussion is not a bad film by any means. It has some really powerful ideas and commentary, and some stunning performances by the main cast, which is Will Smith, and the supporting cast, which is Alec Baldwin, Albert Brooks, and possibly one of the best but unknown actors working in Hollywood today, David Morse. You don't know his name, but you know him. You've seen him. He's in dozens and dozens of films. Fantastic stuff by David Morse as well. A film very similar to Concussion but doesn't have the problems of Concussion is one of my favorite films of all time. It's called The Insider, a film from '99 directed by Michael Mann. That is what Concussion should have been. However, this film kinda ends up being like Kill the Messenger rather than The Insider. 3 out of 5 for Concussion. I like the acting and I like the commentary that is offering on America's obsession towards violence, but I am not gonna advise you to spend $11 on this film. See it in the morning for $6. As usual, people, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, hit that free subscribe button and let me know what you think of Concussion in that sweet comments box down below. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to love yourselves.